Well, folks, we have come a long way in our series of what the world can learn from ... This is the 7th episode of it. It's the final episode so far in that series. And I know there could be a lot of other corners in the world that we could explore with regards to ancient wisdom and traditions and teachings. But I think I've covered quite a few key ones. And today we arrive at one of these places that I have not researched enough with regards to wisdom and teachings from indigenous peoples. So it's even more important to have a look at that area again. And that area is the continent of Africa. And I include the Middle East today as well. With regards to the Middle East, I have mainly read a lot about a certain religion from there, but have not looked more into what is kind of preceding the time of such religion emerging, and if there are any connections maybe to that. So let's get exploring Africa and the Middle East and its teachings and the wisdoms and what we in the West could maybe learn from them. Africa and the Middle East hold some of the world's oldest philosophical, spiritual and communal teachings. They are the birthplaces of human connection, early ethics, storytelling, and some of the first organized systems of meaning. Yet for many in the Western world, African and Middle Eastern wisdom remains misunderstood, overlooked, or reduced to stereotypes. And there's a bit of truth in that, I agree. Today, we peel back those layers to explore their depth, psychological insight, and relevance for the modern mind. And the first concept we're looking at is Ubuntu. I am because we are. Ubuntu is one of Africa's most influential philosophical principles, a worldview that defines personhood through relationship. Ubuntu means my humanity is bound up in yours. I become fully myself through community, and compassion and reciprocity are essential for well-being. It is not I think, therefore I am. It is I belong, therefore I am. Neuroscience shows that empathy circuits shape human development, that mirror neurons help us feel what others feel, that social isolation increases stress and inflammation, and that belonging is essential for mental health. Ubuntu aligns with the biological of the social brain. It teaches that individual well-being cannot be separated from collective well-being. The lesson is the Western self is independent, the African self is interdependent, a relational being. The second concept is vital force, life energy that connects all beings. Across many African cultures, life is understood as animated by vital force, an energy that flows through people, animals, plants, ancestors, land, and spirit. Health and harmony come from strengthening this energy through good relationships, moral actions, community rituals, and connection to nature. This worldview sees life as sacred movement, not a static existence. Vital force mirrors modern understandings of nervous system regulation, emotional energy and resonance, the impact of stress on vitality, and how connection enhances well-being. When relationships are harmonious, our physiology stabilizes. When relationships break down, our nervous system responds as if threatened. The lesson here is energy flows where relationships flow. Well-being is energetic, not just physical. Next, we look at ancestors, continuity, memory, and guidance. In many African societies, ancestors are not gone. They are present, guiding forces in daily life. Ancestral connection provides continuity of identity, moral compass, protection, belonging to a lineage, and grounding in purpose. This worldview understands the self as a continuing story, not an isolated life. Research shows that awareness of family history improves resilience, how intergenerational identity strengthens self-esteem, how cultural memory acts as emotional scaffolding, and how stories passed down create neural coherence. The lesson here is that you stand on the shoulders of those who came before. You are part of a long human story. Next is the concept of Tawheed, which is the oneness of all existence. And I'm asking again to mind my pronunciation if you are from the Middle East. So in Middle Eastern spiritual traditions, particularly Islam, Sufism, and ancient pre-Islamic philosophies, Tawheed describes the oneness of all creation. It teaches that everything is interconnected, that nothing exists independently, that separation is an illusion, and that unity is the essence of reality. This worldview breaks down divisions between body and spirit, human and environment, and sacred and everyday life. Experiences of oneness correlate with reduced activity in the self-referential brain regions, increased connection-related neural networks, improved emotional regulation, and heightened compassion. Meditation, prayer, and contemplation practices all strengthens this sense of unity. The lesson is we suffer when we feel separate, and we heal when we remember our interconnectedness. Next concept is Baraka, blessing, flow, and spiritual abundance. Baraka is a Middle Eastern and North African concept referring to blessing, divine presence, spiritual flow, and the sense of being guided, supported, or inspired. It is the understanding that some places, people, or moments carry an energy that nourishes the spirit. Experiences of gratitude, inspiration, and spiritual awe activate reward pathways, reduce stress, enhance motivation, and promote psychological resilience. Baraka is the emotional, spiritual counterpart to well-being. What's the lesson here? Gratitude and receptivity open the mind to abundance. Baraka flows where the heart is open. The next concept is Hikmah, wisdom through reflection and humility. Hikmah, found across many Middle Eastern cultures, means deep wisdom, insight born from reflection, and humility before the mysteries of life. Rather than intellectual achievement, Hikmah values contemplation, moral understanding, emotional intelligence, and the ability to listen beneath the surface. The mind-brain connection here is reflection and humility, reduce ego-driven reactivity, increase prefrontal cortex activation, support wise decision-making, and enhance empathy. Wisdom is not a cognitive skill. It is an emotional, relational, and spiritual one. The lesson is knowledge fills the mind and wisdom frees it. So what can we learn from Africa and the Middle East and their teachings and wisdom? Africa and the Middle East offer powerful teachings for the Western industrialized world, and the teachings are from Ubuntu, rebuild community, empathy and collective care, From vital force, we can learn to recognize the energetic nature of well-being. From ancestral teachings, we can root identity in continuity, history, and meaning. From Tawheed, we can learn to remember that everything is interconnected and that separation is an illusion. From Baraka, we can learn to cultivate gratitude, presence, and spiritual nourishment. And from Hikmah, we can learn to embrace reflection, humility, and inner wisdom. These teachings remind us that intelligence is not only analytical, it is relational, spiritual, embodied, and ancestral. As we conclude this journey through global ancient wisdom, may the teachings of Africa and the Middle East remind you of your connection to others, to spirit, to ancestors, and to the unfolding story of life. I hope you enjoyed the journey, and I hope, like me, you may have noticed that there are some communalities between all the different teachings and wisdoms from all the different areas, that there are a lot of things that are very similar, that sound like that there is a common root somewhere for all those different teachings. And that brings me to the end of today's final episode of What the World Can Learn From ... and our Exploring Brain and Mind episode. Share all the different episodes about the different teachings and wisdom with other people as well. Subscribe to Exploring Brain and Mind on Apple and Spotify, Amazon Music and YouTube, and other providers. Thanks for listening, and tune in again next week.